Hello everyone, my name is Renee Burns and this is the case study for EDL 850. Alright, so to summarize and establish the facts of this case study. In the rural school, St. Regis, the PTA staff and students have worked very hard to raise funds for a new computer program. With two major fundraising events, they have raised enough money to purchase this program for 2 years to be used within the computer lab. A couple of teachers love the program so much that they asked Mrs. Lynn, the library media specialist and computer lab teacher, to make copies for their classrooms. Mrs. Lynn made several copies of the software program and dispersed them to the teachers. A new teacher, Mrs. Brandon, expressed her appreciation to Mrs. Lynn but declined and shared her concern of the copyright infringement. Her past training at another school had taught her the legal ramifications of such an act. Mrs. Lynn was caught off guard by this and fired back by explaining that she was making every penny count at her school. Unaware of the copies, I, as the principal, was approached by Mrs. Brandon that afternoon. She expressed her concern of Mrs. Lynn's actions and the actions of the others utilizing the copyrighted material. I nonchalantly approached Mrs. Lynn the following day, and she was excited to share her creative ways of reaching more teacher and students with her new copies of the software. I remarked on how resourceful she was, but informed her that her actions were in violation of copyright laws. I explained that there could be severe ramifications for our school, our teachers, and our district. I then asked her to collect the copies. Mrs. Lynn shared that we needn't worry about being caught due to living 25 miles away from the city. She even shared that the PTA president, Mrs. Evans, helped her make the copies. So we have some very urgent issues here, some legal, some ethical. There has been a violation of copyright laws. There has been financial harm to the software company by doing this illegally and not purchasing them. There could be possible financial harm to the district, Mrs. Lynn, or the teachers, or myself. There's been a breach of contract by making copies and dispersing them. And I wonder, as a principal, are teachers willing to do this because of lack of knowledge of the copyright laws, or is there an integrity issue within our school? As principal, I am tasked with avoiding a potential copyright infringement lawsuit while repairing fractured staff relationships. So let's break this up into some of the known facts and unknown facts. The people that we are looking at is Mrs. Lynn. We know that she is local from the town community. She's hardworking. Her job has doubled in the past year. She was the library and media specialist, and now the computer teacher has been added to her, and she is trusted. The other teachers have come to her for support with their ideas, and they trust her and look up to her. Mrs. Brandon is a transplant. She is not from this community. She has taught before, but she is new to this building. She wants to connect. She expresses that she wants to connect with other teachers, but she also has a great sense of integrity and has an issue with this. Myself, I'm a principal of the community. I am also a transplant. I came a few years ago, and I'm finally starting to gain trust with other teachers. Mrs. Evans is the PTA president, and she's a very influential person as she is the head of all the other parents within PTA. And we also know that the rest of the staff really love the software program. They are interested in getting more copies of it, so that's important to note. The unknown is we do not know of the company of the software or exactly what has been stated on the software copyright. The place, we are in the school St. Regis. It's a small town. It's 25 miles away from the city, and it is rural. We do know that this is happening within the school building. It was started in the computer lab, which we are under the impression that it was legal within the computer lab. There have been discussions within my office. The copies, the illegal copies, are within other classrooms. It has been 4 months after the purchase of the first use of the software. We have not heard anything about available grants, which I find, if you're not having appropriate funds available, how else can we get the money we need? So that is one place that is unknown, that's not mentioned. The program, we know that this is a kindergarten through 8th grade school, approximately 420 students. There are 2 teachers per grade, and we do know that there is very little state allocation. And the unknown is the exact wording of the copyright listed on the software. So Prioritizing this information. There is an immediate threat that I need to take care of. I need to collect and destroy the copies as it is critical that we no longer utilize the illegal copies. The important individuals that I'm working with are really all stakeholders are at risk of being impacted by this lawsuit. However, the important individuals for this moment in time would be myself, Mrs. Lynn, Mrs. Brandon, Mrs. Evans, the software company, and the district level leaders such as the superintendent, possibly HR, possibly the attorney for our district. Eventually, I will need to consult with Mrs. Evans, the district leaders, and the software company. However, I feel that I need to prioritize and deal with the immediate threat right now. There's much more to learn about the situation. I need to know more about the district copyright policy, the software copyright policy, and available grants. However, I do feel I have enough information to take action now, and I will gather the additional information needed at a later time. Option 1 for dealing with this is to ignore it. Allow the teachers to use the illegal software and break the law. I could ignore the staff conflict between the two teachers. I could keep this altercation confidential and hope that no one ever finds out. Another option is to collect and destroy the copied software, but go ahead and ignore the staff conflict and hope that the issues resolve themselves. Often that's the case. Option 3 is to collect and destroy the copied software, to work towards mending those relationships, which will take time, but it's worth it. Facilitate a leadership group in finding alternative ways to purchase the software. I could provide staff training in copyright laws so that it ensures that this does not happen again. Option 4 is to collect and destroy the copied software. Go ahead and fire Mrs. Lynn because she did break the law, and she was aware that she was breaking the law. And I could provide staff training in copyright laws. There are pros and cons for each of these. Option 1 was when I just ignored everything. The pros is that short term, that would relieve all my stress. The stakeholders would have access to the wonderful software that they really wanted. The cons, however, is that all stakeholders are in jeopardy of legal repercussions, and the staff conflict's going to increase if I ignore it. Option 2 is to collect and destroy and take care of the illegal copies, but to go ahead and ignore the staff conflict and hope that the issues resolve themselves. The pros of this is that the immediate threat of the copyrighted material is now gone. The cons, however, is the staff conflict's going to increase. The staff is not going to learn from their mistakes and will possibly continue to break the law in other circumstances. And we're not going to be able to purchase the software that they desire. Option 3 is to collect and destroy the copied software, mend the relationships, go ahead and look at ways that we could purchase it, and provide staff training. So the pros of this is that the immediate threat of copyrighted material is now gone. A positive school culture is going to promote staff and student success and well-being. The staff will learn about staff will learn about correct copyright guidelines, and there will be opportunities to purchase the software that they desire. Option 4 is to collect and destroy the copied software, but go ahead and fire Mrs. Lynn and provide staff training. The pros of this is that there is immediate threat of the copyrighted material is now gone because you've gotten rid of those. The staff is going to learn about the correct copyrighted guidelines. However, the con of this is Mrs. Lynn is a very valuable teacher to the rest of the district and the staff members. And if you're going to fire her somewhat unfairly, I will have lost the positive traction that I have gained the past 3 years working so hard to build relationships. And the morale of the staff is going to be a big concern here. So, what did I choose? I chose option 3. I will collect and destroy the copied software. I'm going to mend the relationships. That's going to take time, but I think it's very important to do. I'm going to facilitate a leadership group to find alternative ways to purchase the software, and I plan to provide staff training on copyright laws. So the first step of implementation is to directly work with Mrs. Lynn. I'm going to meet with Mrs. Lynn, and I'm going to assure her of the immense respect that I have for all of the work that she does to promote student growth and well-being. Her job has doubled this past year as she takes on responsibilities of the computer lab. Our staff values her leadership, and they come to her for help. She goes out of the way out of her way to support our staff, and I very much value her as a member of St. Regis. Next, I'm going to explain my purpose as the principal. I must implement and follow laws, rights, policies, and regulations to promote student and staff success and well-being. Therefore, I'm going to work together with her to collect and destroy the copied software materials. And as I'm doing this, I am sharing with her my experiences of when I moved to the community. And I plan to explain the difficulty that I had fitting in and earning the respect of my colleagues. And I'm going to make sure to point out to her just how powerful she is to her peers. They really respect her, and that I'm going to be counting on her to support the new teachers coming in because she directly influences the others. I will then explicitly tell her that I would like her to work on the committee with Mrs. Brandon and myself to find alternative ways to purchase the software. Once I've done that, I will continue my implementation. I'm going to inform the other stakeholders that need to be informed. So first I will meet with the district leaders to share the situation that happened in the building and assure them that all the copies have been destroyed, and that I am taking the proper steps to train my staff on the seriousness of the copyright infringement. If they have any alternative steps that they wish for me to take, I'm going to do so. Next, I will call the PTA president, Mrs. Evans, and speak with her. I will thank her for her continuous work with the PTA in fundraising for our school. I will express our extreme approval of the new software. I will then thank her for assisting Mrs. Lynn with her work yesterday. But at that point, I'm going to share that it's my responsibility, as well as hers and all the people that work within our school, to follow the copyright laws and policies that we have in place. I will share that making those copies did in fact break the law, but then assure her that we took care of destroying the copies. And I will inform her of the new committee that I am forming to find alternative ways to pay for the software, and I plan to invite her to be part of that committee if she wishes. I will also have her add to the next PTA agenda just a short, informative discussion on copyright laws. Finally, I'm going to visit with Mrs. Brandon. I plan to share with her the difficulties that I had moving to this town and making friends with the locals, because we do have that in common. I will give her some helpful tips and let her know that with time, she's going to learn to love the community and she will fit right in. I will thank her for her ethical standards and that I appreciate her integrity and the fact that she sought me out to express her concerns. I will then tell her that I would love for her to be a part of the committee in finding alternative ways to fund the new software. Now, those were kind of the things that I felt urgent to do right away. In the weeks to come, though, I will monitor and ensure adherence to legal and ethical copyright standards by communicating consistently our policies in staff meetings, as well as PLC meetings, and I think it'd be wise to have written communication above the copiers or any area that the staff tends to utilize. I will develop our committee to look for alternative ways to fund additional purchase of the software. This committee will involve myself, Mrs. Lynn, Mrs. Brandon, and Mrs. Evans, and any other staff members that would like to join. And annually, I will review copyright guidelines with our PTA. That's my plan. I have learned a massive amount in school law. I was very much unaware of a lot of the things. It's kind of scary. I've taught 13 years and I didn't know very much. So I plan to use a lot of this and share a lot of this new knowledge with my colleagues. I thank you all for learning alongside me, and I wish you a very happy summer. Thank you.